He's not looking at it from a global perspective. No, I don't know if we had a number. Like, so I think it's gonna need some. I'm so tired of that. Okay, perfect. You want me to take it, or do you want me to?
I can give it to you. Okay. But just so you know, it's on Andrew's computer.
Perfect.
I know.
Thank you. Good to see you, Erica. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get started. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen here and in cyber world out there. We're going to get our meeting started, and then I'll call it to order, and we'll go to the clerk. Mr. Bradley, we'll have roll call, please.
Mayor Doring.
Here.
Vice Mayor Deasy.
Here.
Councilmember Barrick.
Here.
Councilmember Spoterato.
Here.
Councilmember Summers.
Present.
All right, welcome everybody. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're on to item 4 on our agenda, adoption of the agenda. Look to our clerk to see if there are any updates, amendments, changes to the agenda.
Yeah, so for 8.2, which is our tourism presentation, just one of the presenters is sick today, so that's Vern from the St. Helena Tourism Improvement District. We will bring him back at another day, but we do have Visit Napa Valley and the St. Helena Chamber here.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Comello.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to tell our city clerk that Rick Hoffman is here to represent the TID.
All right.
So he's going to go
I know
last.
Vern's hiding out from me, but for reasons. Oh, thank you. That would be great. So, all right. Other than, I don't think we even need to make an amendment for that, right? No, but I'll look for a motion to adopt our agenda.
Motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second motion.
All in favor of adopting our agenda as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. That passes unanimously. Now, on to item 5, which is adoption of the minutes. These are from February 10th, our regular city council meeting. Any changes or amendments of note? Maybe one change, I don't know. You might want to check into the spelling of the last name of Mr. McCornack. I thought it was McCornack. I've seen it different ways. There's one name, Clark McCornack. He was a speaker in our last meeting, just to get the name right, the spelling right. I don't know. I think it's McCornack, but I may be wrong. All right, in any event, I'll look for a motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll make a motion to adopt
With the change if necessary, right? If necessary. Yeah.
if
Okay.
necessary.
All right, is there a motion to
Second.
adopt the minutes? There's a second by Ms. Spataroto, right? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That motion passes unanimously. On to the public forum. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern not on the agenda during public forum. Each person's comment shall be limited to 4 minutes. Each person is entitled to speak on any non-agendized item only once at any meeting. Brief questions by council members for clarifications may be posed and answered, and council members may make requests that items be placed on future agendas. But in accordance with state law, no substantive discussion or action may take place unless and until the matter properly appears on the agenda. All right, I'll open the matter for public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to talk to your city council? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Are there any items that my colleagues want to bring forward under this item? We can wait till there are other areas, but for any matters that we want to put on future agendas? Seeing none, I'll formally close the public comment. We'll move on. Okay. Salud. Bless you. All right. We're on to item 7, reports by staff and city council, future agenda items, and AB 1234 reports. Mr. Walsh, do you want to report on your own item? I can report on your item, but I'll let you report.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also had a closed session yesterday, a
That's
special
right.
meeting.
Thank you. Right.
Conference with labor negotiators for each of the city's bargaining units and the city's unrepresented employees, no reportable action from that item. And then, yes, prior to this meeting, we had a special meeting for my evaluation, and there's no reportable action from that either.
You're still in the chair. You're still with us.
Still here.
All right. No, it was a delightful evaluation. We got a lot done there. But okay. All right, Mr. Camello, any other staff reports from your staff?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'll invite Director Sylvester as well as the city clerk to make announcements. But as she's making her way up, I just want to point out that the police department is doing what's called starting a SMART class. This is provide some training on driving and present safe driving practices, rules of the road for new drivers and new drivers license requirements. They'll be held, the first one is going to be held on Wednesday, March 18th at 4:30 p.m. Here in the school cafeteria. For more information, please visit the city's website or the city's newsletter. With that, I'll turn it over to Director Sylvester.
Welcome, Director. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have an exciting addition to our March 24th sesquicentennial plaque dedication ceremony to share with you tonight. The Napa Valley Wine Train, one of the few active historic passenger railroads in the United States, is proud to celebrate St. Helena's 150th anniversary by offering an exclusive round-trip journey to St. Helena's Main Street on Tuesday, March 24th. So we're partnering with the wine train as a city. They're going to depart Napa at the McKinstry Street train station in downtown Napa. They'll board at 1:45, depart at 2:20. They'll arrive in St. Helena around 3:45. Passengers are going to be welcomed over at Lyman Park, and then they're free to go downtown, go to the galleries, tasting rooms, where then they'll reboard at 5:45 to make that return trip back to Napa at 7:15. The wine train tickets for this trip, since it is a special trip, are $29.54, so that is just enough to cover the fuel there and back, and that's what the wine train was interested in doing, is to get people up here to celebrate our incorporation. But if any questions, you can visit the wine train, celebrate St. Helena, and any questions can be directed towards me as well. But we're excited to have them partner with us for this. Thank you.
Thank you. How does that work for your council members? Are we expected to jump on the train? We should have a meeting on the train, actually. That would be a city council meeting on the train before they head back.
Why don't we have a closed session on it? No, I think that's the evening that you'll be having a council meeting here that night. So
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
That was my hint.
I know.
They should stay a little longer. Come on. All right. Okay, any other items, Mr.?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Bradley.
We wanted to let everyone know that we do have our community academy starting again on April 15th. Applications are on our website and due by March 31st. Classes for this session will be from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And again, that's April 15th to May 20th. And that's for anyone interested in learning more about how to run for elected office, serving on a board or commission, or simply to learn more about city government.
All right. Thank you for that report. Does that conclude the reports from staff, Mr. Camello?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank
All
you.
right. Okay, thank you, staff, for those reports. We're going to move on to item 8 under our agenda. It's entitled Presentations and Public Recognitions. We have 2 items tonight. One, we'll start with the Napa County Mosquito Abatement District Manager, Wesley Maffei. And I may have gotten the name spelled or pronounced incorrectly, but you can say it again when you come up. And St. Helena's appointed board member, Mr. Cramer. Mr. Cramer, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Welcome. Nice to see you again. Welcome. All things mosquito abatement. Here we are. The highlight of our meeting. Mr. Cramer, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for serving our community.
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Cramer. I sit on the board as a secretary for the board of the Napa Mosquito Abatement. And I'm blessed to be here today, and I'm blessed to have a good director. I mean, I've served with him on the board for a bit of time now, and we are blessed to have his memory and his skill level and his science. He is excellent at curbing the mosquitoes that we have in this county and doing it in a way that we don't mess up our ecology and everything around us.
All right. All right.
I'm going to
Thank you.
introduce
Thank you. Welcome.
Wes Maffei.
Welcome to St. Helena.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, members.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been here.
Been a while.
I just real quickly, my name's Wes Maffei. I've been the director now
okay.
for almost 29 years. I've got 38 years in mosquito control. And so quickly going to talk a little about the district, but then I'm going to get to really what the big issue is for us right now and what's
Okay.
coming.
Yep.
So we'll start with an overview. The district was formed in 1925, and St. Helena was a key player in that happening. And we have been managing mosquito populations in this county now for over 100 years. In essence, the general biology of mosquito, they have to have water in order to breed. No water, no mosquitoes, end of story. So it's really simple math in that sense. That said, there are 20 different species of mosquitoes in this county. Some carry disease, some don't. Some are not pests, others are terrible biters and can make life difficult in and around the home. We use a number of different ways to manage mosquito populations, and there are 4 basic rules for what we call integrated vector management. So you're really looking to try to do the work with the least amount of impact to non-target organisms. First is physical control. Physical control means you try to eliminate the water source. Tip the containers, dump the containers, don't let water collect. For those sites where you have little or no impact, you can also drain the water, but you have to be careful about what you're doing when you do that. There are numerous methods, but all of it is managing the water, managing the habitat. Biological control means you use organisms that are going to eat mosquitoes. We usually look for organisms that are going to feed on the immature stages because that's the best way to manage these bugs. So with immature mosquitoes, we use mosquito fish, we use bacteria, things that are very specific about controlling mosquitoes. Chemical control, the least preferred method. Now you're getting into things that have the potential to impact other organisms. So we want to try and not do that as much as possible, but it is sometimes required. Adult mosquito control, you're using adulticides like pyrethrins. These are the least harmful, but they still can affect other insects, and therefore we need to be very careful about how we use these things. Public education. Now this is a very valuable tool. And it's a tool that has to be used wisely, because otherwise, with our limited staff, we have a total of 9 staff, including myself, and we cover the entire county. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed when you're trying to get the word out. That said, you still try to tell folks what they can do in and around the home and how they can do it without having to use pesticides. This diagram that you see here, just as sort of an illustration of what's in and around the home. You name it, every type of item can hold water, whether it's a rot cavity in a tree, a watering trough, the saucers under plants, drains, sumps, whatever it is. My favorite, of course, is Uncle Bob's cement sink that's hidden in the back in the ivy that he saved since 1945, and it's a sacred whatever that's got to be saved. And there it is, breeding tons of mosquitoes. So you look for anything that can hold water, and it's about managing the water. That's the key. So anything that holds water for more than a few days can breed mosquitoes, and so we want to try to minimize that. So what is this all about? We're going to get to this non-native mosquito that has become established in California. It was first discovered in 2013 in the Los Angeles basin. It is now fairly widespread in Southern California, much of the Central Valley, and we do have it in a handful of counties in Northern California. One of the issues with this mosquito is, as of last year, it was found on Mare Island on September 19th. It's also been found in Dixon, it's in Antioch, East San Jose, South San Jose, Gilroy, Santa Clara. We have it in Sacramento County, you have it in Yolo County, you have it in Shasta, you have it in Butte. So this thing is spreading. Even though it's a very beautiful animal, don't get me wrong, it's a gorgeous animal. It is a persistent biter. They're known as ankle biters because they like to bite around the lower extremities. Very different than other mosquitoes. It is also very well adapted to humans and human behavior. We, as a species, love to collect things. Our yards are full of things. And this bug can breed in containers as small as a bottle cap, like this one. And so it does not take much. It will breed in water that collects in the leaf axils. And so if we go to the next few photos, you'll see, for example, a saucer at the base of this potted plant that's holding water. They love these sites. The next slide also shows a bromeliad, and you say, well, that doesn't look like much, except the leaf axils hold water, and the very next slide demonstrates that very clearly, and you can see the immature stages, the larvae, that are in that water. So they utilize almost the smallest of habitats. This particular mosquito is specialized in this. This mosquito, the next slide shows that it'll also breed in every little container, and I can guarantee you there are at least a handful of yards in every community that's got cans and bottles and whatever, and every one of those had mosquitoes breeding in it. The next to last slide, this is a child's toy. Again, it's just got that little bit of rainwater. They will take advantage of this. So the last slide sort of drives the point home, which is mosquito control is a community effort. In this instance, with this mosquito, it absolutely is. One of our biggest challenges is we cannot get into the yards like we used to. When I started way back in the day, folks were much more relaxed, and you could go in and out of yards, you could take care of business, and they were pretty happy about that. Now, most things are locked. Folks don't trust government. There's all kinds of issues. And because we don't have access, we cannot find all the breeding sites, and you only have to have one of these little caps or a bromeliad or an orchid or something that holds water in the yard, and the whole neighborhood's going to be miserable with this bug. The other thing that's special about this particular mosquito, it engages in something called skip oviposition, meaning it lays one egg here, flies over to the next yard, lays another egg, flies to the next yard, lays another egg, and it's a survival strategy, so they're not all in one place. It's very hard to find, it's cryptic in its behavior, and it's very hard to control. Community effort is the only way. So we're dependent on the cooperation of citizens, of getting the word out, of code enforcement not having a heavy hand, but just sort of nudging people to, hey, clean up that yard. We appreciate the fire department telling folks, get rid of the trash, get rid of the weeds, get rid of the dead wood, because any place like a tarp that holds this water, we have this problem. It is a community effort. There is no other way to manage this insect. It is resistant to most pesticides. It breeds in such small places that mosquito fish don't work. I mean, you can't get a mosquito fish in this cap. It's not going to happen. So it really is a community effort, and that's sort of why I'm here. I'm sort of sounding the alarm, not because I want people to be scared or to be afraid, but it's a call to action. And anything that you all can do and that your citizens can do to help us will be greatly appreciated. We've got the ditches, we've got the marshes and the winery ponds, but the backyards, we can't get in there, and we need help.
All right. Good message. Thank you for a comprehensive report. Questions from my colleagues? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Really interesting. I have two questions. Is there a mosquito season, and are you here because there's a particular problem or outbreak here, or
Okay.
or you just happen to buy?
So let me take the second question first. I'm going to back up really quick. And what happened when this mosquito was found in Southern California, districts sort of mobilized and tried to play catch up. Well, once the insect is in the area, it's much harder to manage. It's not yet been found in Napa County, but having been in Mare Island, I would say it's knocking on the door. And so my approach is, let's get the community going now. Let's do everything we can to try and minimize habitat and get people educated. Because the only options I have, if I can't get into the yards, we're talking adulticiding. I come from old school mosquito control where the trucks used to go up and down the street fogging and people would open the doors and the chemical would go through and it would kill the fleas and the flies and everybody was happy. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't work that way for a whole host of reasons, including that it'll alarm your citizens. So the only option we've got is to get the word out before it gets here in the hopes that we can reduce its impact. The second question.
Was it mosquito season?
Okay, so we here in California, unlike the East Coast, are blessed because it is all year long. We have winter mosquitoes only. We have spring and summer mosquitoes. This one that I'm talking about hits the ground running in April and will go all the way to November, depending on how warm it is, and then the eggs overwinter. So we unfortunately have year-round, but this particular insect is mostly April to October.
Ask one more. So what I'm hearing is it's our job to, as a council, get the word out beyond this meeting.
Anything you can do, I would be super grateful. If you've got HOAs or service clubs, I will come tell the story. And I will also answer any questions because folks are going to be like, well, what are you using? What do you use? What sort of impacts? And I'm happy to answer that because it's, I think, an informed population that has a positive call to action, not a call to action based on fear, but a positive call to action. I believe we will be much more successful. Historically, this insect was a major problem and actually transmitted yellow fever here in the United States. We are talking Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Philadelphia. The U.S. Mint used to close 200 years ago because of yellow fever. They would shut down in the summer and everybody would leave. And we only had one mint at that time. It was in Philadelphia. So it's sort of important to get the word out. And what the U.S. Public Health Service found in the 20s, 30s, and 40s is they really hit the ground running getting the word out in order to get a handle on this. So I'm saying let's get the word out now, and anything we can do that is non-chemical, all the better.
All right. We got the message. Now we need to get the message out. All right. Yeah. Thank you
very much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for your service to our community. Good education. That one mosquito that goes from house to house and leaves an egg is kind of like the milkman, Mr. Comello. That's the milkman mosquito.
And actually, I happen to have one of those blood types apparently that mosquitoes like. So, go figure.
Have a good night.
And they don't pay taxes.
They don't pay taxes, I know. All right. Okay, we have a second item on our presentations and public recognitions, as our staff alluded to earlier. Tourism presentation by Visit Napa Valley, St. Helena Chamber, and the St. Helena Tourism Improvement District. Mr. Camello.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our residents obviously are blessed to have 3 of these groups that assist and collaborate in order to share our brand with the world and encourage tourists to come here, spend their money, and give us some of that as part of the city's revenue and our coffers. So to start off, we'll have Lindsay from the Visit Napa Valley, followed by Chamber, Amy, and then from TID is going to be Rick making the presentations.
All right. You get to follow Mosquito Abatement. Why not? Welcome to our
That's
city.
a first for me. Exciting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, council members, and thank you to city staff and to City Manager Camello for inviting us to come and speak with you tonight. I'm Lindsay Gallagher with Visit Napa Valley, and we are the destination marketing organization for the Valley. And I thought I would start out today just by giving an overview of our Tourism Improvement District, or TID, which you you all know a little bit about. That district just renewed for another 10 years, and we are going to continue to assess our overnight hotel guests. Every guest in every town and the unincorporated areas of the county pays 2% fee when they check out of a hotel, and that assessment is collected for the benefit of the hotel community here in Napa Valley. So in our case, that 2% is collected every year, every night a guest stays in a hotel, and it comes into this fund that must be used for destination marketing. 75% of those funds come through to Visit Napa Valley for our valley-wide destination marketing, and I'm going to give you a preview of that in a few minutes. But that also includes talking about the valley, talking about the towns, talking about the experiences you can have here, whether that's at a lodging property or in a winery or in a restaurant or an attraction like the wine train or a hot air balloon. And so that's the program that I represent, and I'm going to take the opportunity to give you an update on today. But you're also going to hear about some other pieces of this puzzle, which include the local tourism improvement district, where 25% of those TID funds that are collected are coming into your local district, which is overseen by the hotels here in the city of St. Helena. And there's a governing body, and that you're going to hear more about that. But basically, there's a valley-wide effort, and then there is a local effort. All of these funds must be used for destination marketing purposes. And in the case of St. Helena, your Chamber of Commerce is entrusted with a majority of those TID funds from the local pool to do the local destination marketing for the city of St. Helena. So those are kind of the pieces of the puzzle at a very top line level. We just renewed this district for another 10 years, and I want to thank some of you were here, some of you were not, but for a 10-year period, we will be able to continue to have this economic engine turning here in the Valley and here in St. Helena. And I'm going to give you just take the opportunity to give an overview on the destination marketing organization piece at Visit Napa Valley. And then you're going to hear from the other 2 speakers on these other layers of our tourism improvement district in Napa Valley. Sound good? All right, let's dig in. We're going to start with a video of who we are and what we do at Visit Napa Valley, and then I'll unpack some of this programming in a little more detail for you.
Visit Napa Valley is the official destination marketing and management organization for the Napa Valley. And we take pride in promoting, protecting, and enhancing this iconic destination that we call home. With 5 unique towns in our fantastic valley, there are endless possibilities for entertainment. No 2 trips are alike, but all guarantee a world-class adventure. While we are one of California's most charming destinations, Visit Napa Valley partners with organizations on a state and national level to foster the greatest impact for local destination partners and tourism businesses. We wouldn't be able to make such an impact without a world-class team. Our talented and passionate employees are experts across a field of disciplines, and they're dedicated to our organization's mission of promoting, protecting, and enhancing Napa Valley. Beyond our team, the tourism and hospitality industries support an estimated 16,000 jobs in our community. Now that's impressive. That's why we work so diligently to make your life the good life. Visit Napa Valley's objectives are to create awareness and cultivate a desire to experience Napa Valley, grow the group and international business segments, and champion building a county-wide, best-in-class destination stewardship model. These key objectives helped us welcome a total of 3.7 million visitors to this beautiful destination just last year. We are proud to be ambassadors for a destination that is welcoming, creative, warm, sophisticated, alive, beautiful, relaxed, and carefree. These attributes are precisely why visitors to Napa Valley keep coming back. In a recent study, 95% of visitors said they would return. We believe Napa Valley is the perfect place to share the good things in life and savor every moment. It is a place where visitors and residents alike can delight in the discovery of something new. Cheers to the good life.
So that's an overview of the work that we get to do on behalf of the destination with this funding that we collect from the overnight hotel guests. The role of Visit Napa Valley is to be the destination marketing organization, and we get to share with the world why they should come and visit us here in Napa Valley, but we also get to celebrate why this is a great place to live and to work as well. We have a number of objectives, which you saw in the video, but I want to just emphasize the fact that we are here to be stewards of the brand, to inspire people to come here, but we're also trying to inspire and motivate during our need periods. So we're trying hard to bring visitors here during the midweek, and we're trying to bring them here in the off season. It happens to be right now our shoulder season, which we call our Cabernet season, with the mustard blooming and a little bit quieter and calmer time here in the valley. We are making sure visitors understand that every season is a great one for us here in Napa Valley, not just the harvest season when most people want to come. We work in a destination marketing ecosystem that starts at the international level with Brand USA, working to promote the United States as a destination. That work has become very challenging in the more recent past as we face headwinds on a national and international level with perceptions of the United States. But in any event, there is an effort there through Brand USA to inspire people to come to the United States. From there, Visit California does an incredible job as the state destination marketing organization to encourage people to come to the state of California. From there, San Francisco Travel is working hard to bring those visitors into Northern California. And at that point, we're trying to inspire them to come to the Napa Valley. Once they commit to coming to Napa Valley, we want them to explore all 5 of our towns. We want them to stay longer and spend more money here in Napa Valley. And that's where the economic engine starts to turn for us. And the sort of 2 central layers of this pyramid is how we generate those TID funds that allow us to do the destination-wide marketing as well as the City of St. Helena specific destination marketing effort. This is a slide that shows the economic impact and how it works here in Napa Valley. And I won't go into all of the details you see here on the screen, but I want to emphasize a few key points. One is that this revenue is generated by visitors who stay overnight in a hotel, and it is used to do the marketing to visitors, but it also has a transient occupancy tax component, which in the case of St. Helena, every one of those hotel guests is also paying 13% in transient occupancy tax, which comes to you here at the city and helps support the general fund budget and all the work that you do to take care of the citizens and the residents here in St. Helena. So both of those streams are fueled by overnight hotel guests. And the marketing work we discussed, that's the blue area up at the top where there's both a valley-wide and a city-specific marketing program about Napa Valley and about St. Helena. And those funds have to be used for marketing efforts. However, the lower level in the burgundy color is that transient occupancy tax. So that also is fueled by guests staying overnight in a hotel. 12% of that transient occupancy tax goes to your general fund for things like police, public safety, fire, potholes and road repairs, parks and recreation, you know, the resident benefits that all of you are stewards of for the community here in St. Helena. I also want to point out that starting in 2019, the lodging community agreed to assess their guests an additional 1% for every overnight hotel guest on their overnight stay to help fund affordable workforce housing solutions throughout the valley. And I believe you have collected from those overnight guests here in St. Helena, you've collected $3.5 million since 2019 to help contribute to affordable workforce housing solutions for your employees here in St. Helena, as an example. So that's the economic engine, that's how it works, and that's why this district is so important that those revenues continue to come in both for the marketing and for the transient occupancy tax every year as we continue in this tourism improvement district. Next, this takes just a look at how that transient occupancy tax, that 12%, has fared over time. And we went to 2019, which was our last normal year before the pandemic. Then you see the bottom falls out of the tourism industry, of course, with the pandemic, and we can no longer have visitors in our destination and guests staying in a hotel for quite a while. So you see the real impact we had in fiscal years 2020 and 2021. But the incredible story here is if you look at fiscal year 2022, you see how quickly Napa Valley as a destination caught up those revenues. And in 1 year, we were able to not only get back to the 55 million level where we had been prior to the pandemic, we exceeded that and had our best year ever with $68 million in transient occupancy tax collected in Napa Valley from those overnight hotel guests. And that continued in the euphoria of the COVID recovery in 2023. It softened out a little bit, but last year we collected $68 million from those overnight hotel guests to help with our local resident services. Here in St. Helena, you collect around $3.9 million a year in transient occupancy tax. That's every year from those overnight hotel guests contributing to your general fund here in St. Helena. And then lastly, I think it's always useful as we try to unpack this section of the presentation to look at what that impact is of your transient occupancy tax generated from those overnight hotel guests in each of the cities throughout the valley. We've highlighted St. Helena in yellow, and you see that you have a population here of around 5,300. You have just under 300 hotel rooms, and those hotel guests are paying almost $4 million, $3.9 million in transient occupancy tax that comes to you for your general fund. In St. Helena, that's 21% of your general fund, and that has grown by almost 180% since this tourism district went into place. If you look at your neighboring towns, the percentage of the general fund is even more significant. In Yountville, it's nearly 60% of their general fund coming from those overnight hotel guests through transient occupancy tax. And in Calistoga, it's just under 55% last year. So a very significant impact all throughout the valley, but no less so here in St. Helena. Now quickly into the governance and oversight of the district. Our Napa Valley Tourism Improvement District includes representation on this homeowner association board, if you will, has a jurisdiction representative and a lodging representative from each town throughout the valley, as well as the county. And here in St. Helena, you are represented in the jurisdiction seat by your city manager, Anil Camello. And from the lodging seat, Rick Kaufman from Harvest Inn is your Napa Valley Tourism Corporation representative on the Napa Valley Tourism Corporation board. Additionally, Supervisor Ann Cottrell serves as the county's representative, but of course this is part of her district. And so a lot of great collaboration and oversight coming from the elected officials, jurisdiction representatives, and lodging community in this Napa Valley Tourism Corporation, which is the homeowner association of that district, which I just described. So the Napa Valley Tourism Corporation then contracts with Visit Napa Valley for the destination marketing services valley-wide. And that Visit Napa Valley has a board of directors, about 2/3 of whom are lodging representatives and another third from hospitality and visitor-facing businesses throughout the valley, from the wine train to Bottle Rock to restaurants and wineries as well. And so the city of St. Helena is represented on that board by Rick Kaufman Blackman from Harvest Inn. He is the vice chair of the Visit Napa Valley Board and on the executive committee, as well as Heidi Meyersman from the Alila Hotel. So once again, you'll see, the goal is to have a breadth and depth of representation in all of our visitor-facing businesses led by hotels, since this financing primarily comes from the hotel community. All right, now the Visit Napa Valley team that does destination marketing with the 75% of the funds collected has a broad and diverse team working on destination marketing efforts. We don't have time in this presentation to get into all of that, but I do have some handouts for you. But know that the Destination Marketing Organization, most of the work that we do is not seen here in Napa Valley because we are working to attract visitors and inspire them to come from all over the country, all around the world, here in the state of California. And so there's a lot of great work happening that goes out into the world, but it's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to showcase some of that here at home because frankly, you're not in our target market and we we aren't able to show this work in the Valley the way we are in Texas and Chicago and New York and Southern California. So we have a diverse team that works in marketing and communications primarily. We are a marketing organization. Also have a sales team that works with group meeting planners and travel advisors, as well as community industry relations data and insights and other pieces of our puzzle. The program that Visit Napa Valley oversees is a very wide pipe, and it's very impactful in driving intent to visit to the Napa Valley. Our website alone sees 3.1 million visits every year. We have newsletters that we send out every other week to 71,000 email subscribers. Our social media is almost 500,000 followers, and we have many other pieces of the puzzle that are intended to get people to consider coming to Napa Valley, to commit to coming to Napa Valley, and then to find their way to a town like St. Helena and to a property like Harvest Inn. So that is what the work program looks like that the team oversees. We have all of this detailed in a strategic annual plan, which I brought copies of to leave behind with you tonight, but happy to go into any more detail on any of those departments and programs and initiatives that are pulling through on that strategy of driving overnight hotel stays here to the Napa Valley. And now I just wanted to take a moment to look at the data from a hotel occupancy standpoint and a hotel rate standpoint, so that you can have an understanding of where Napa County sits versus other destinations like Sonoma, Monterey, San Luis Obispo, San Francisco. Then we are going to look in the middle at how St. Helena fared last year as it compared to other towns here in the destination. And there's good news all around, is the spoiler alert here. Napa County finished 2025 up almost 3% in our occupancy, and our rate stayed almost flat. So many other destinations were in a decline or were flat at best from their occupancy, but we drove 3% more people to stay overnight in hotels, despite all of the headwinds that we have from an international standpoint, as well as with the wine industry overall. So it may not be as good as some of our property owners would like it to be, but I do think that there is, lots of reason to be optimistic about our ability to drive overnight hotel guests into the Napa Valley destination, and that's what you see at the top third of this chart. In the middle, in yellow, you see St. Helena, which for the first time is able to have its own line on the Smith Travel Research reporting data source, which is very exciting. So we worked with many of the properties here in the community. Amy from the Chamber was helpful with that, and Heidi from Alila, and helping enough properties to report so that you can have your own line. And as of May, we're able to have St. Helena on this chart, just like we have American Canyon, City of Napa, Yountville, and Calistoga. But to summarize, you had 67% occupancy last year, so that was higher than the Valley, which is about 64%. You grew your occupancy by 3.2%, and your average daily hotel rate here in St. Helena was just under $600 as your average daily rate. So that's kind of the hotel dashboard for the last year. And I want to just conclude with a super quick update on what are the programs that Visit Napa Valley is doing to drive awareness and consideration for travelers to come to Napa Valley, in a general sense, and that sort of feeds into the local destination marketing effort that you have for St. Helena and feeds hopefully into those individual hotels and our wineries and our restaurants and our visitor-facing businesses here in the Valley. We have a base layer of our campaign, which we call Cheers the Good Life. That is the primary advertising campaign that we've been running for a couple of years now. We also have a layer that highlights the towns as part of our paid advertising effort. I'm going to show you a couple examples of that. But we also do a small marketing program to meeting planners under the program we call Crush That Meeting, encouraging meeting business to come to Napa Valley. That's often Monday through Thursday business or off-season business, bless you. And in addition to that, we have a workforce development campaign that we call Crush That Career that we're trying to help inspire people to work in hospitality here in Napa Valley and to show them that there's a great career path in our hospitality community as well. So let's talk a little bit about the town layer of our advertising. So first we are talking about Napa Valley, come to Napa Valley, come visit us in Napa Valley. And then as the next layer of that campaign, which we invested $500,000 in the last 2 years, was to help them understand the unique personalities of our town and to help them find their way to St. Helena. If they were in Yountville on their last trip, we want them to know that they should check out Calistoga and the city of Napa and St. Helena and American Canyon. And we're really trying to extend their stay or encourage repeat visitation. And by talking about our 5 unique towns, that we are very successful in that effort. This is an example of what those ads looked like in the most recent round of the campaign. But first, that the potential visitor saw a Visit Napa Valley ad. The next time we spoke to that consumer, we showed them an ad for St. Helena to really push them further down in the advertising funnel and inspire them to come to see all of you in St. Helena. And we did that with the other towns as well. So that's just an example of how we are intending to have a wider, more top of funnel approach with our valley-wide effort, but making sure that we then are channeling those visitors into consideration of the towns and the properties in each of the towns. In addition to our paid advertising, we also have a website, social media, newsletters, and all of those communication tools that we use. In the interest of time, I will just speed through these slides today, but also wanted to just pause here for any questions and just by sort of bring it all back together before you hear from the Chamber and the local TID to remind you that this is a very important economic engine here in the Valley. This 2% that's collected on every overnight hotel guest helps fund this tourism improvement district program that also helps your transient occupancy tax and your general fund revenue grow. And this is a great partnership between the Valley-wide effort and the individual cities here in the Valley to make sure that we are getting the maximum economic impact and resident benefit from being so generous and welcoming visitors from around the world to come see us. And with that, I think I have a video to close.
When was the last time you asked yourself, what have I done for me lately? The last time you felt free to explore, to relax, and replenish. To eat, sleep, and breathe the finer things in life that sometimes are not things at all. The space to reconnect with yourself and nature. Beloved experiences with the people you love. Spending quality time surrounding yourself with quality. These are the things we value most in the Napa Valley. Every day we roll up our sleeves and go elbow deep in the craft. Some say it sounds like work, but we call it passion. Passion you can see, feel, and taste. Discover the art of craft and quality. As you sip, savor, and share in the best things that life has to offer, surrounded by what is beautiful, inside and out. Cheers, the good life.
Okay. Any questions?
Couple questions on the numbers for the rooms in St. Helena. One of your reports showed 292. Does that include other rooms besides hotel rooms, like
Short-term rentals?
yeah, or
It doesn't
bed and breakfast?
Yet. It doesn't. And those, you have, I believe, 50 permits and 25 of those are active here in St. Helena. So when we renewed the district in June of 2025, we started to collect Tourism Improvement District 2% on those short-term rentals. And so that is starting to come into our number now. But that unit count is hotel rooms still.
Wow. It's actually higher than a lot of quotes I hear out in the world, so that's interesting. I thought it was, people throw out 250, 270, 280, 292 is the number, right?
That is
You're
the
gonna stand
number
by
that the
Okay.
data system collects.
That's
So
good.
that's Harveston, Alila,
Understood.
Wydown.
And then the other number, the other chart that you showed with respect to St. Helena, it showed 210 rooms. Those are those who are reporting, correct?
That's right. Exactly. Yes.
And is that a good number or a bad number in terms of the number reporting, or?
Yes, we
Is it
would love
a
more. But I
reliable
think,
number?
we're just happy that we needed 3 or 4 properties to fully report into this system for them to give us our own line, and it took us a couple years to get there. So there are some properties that don't report into this syndicated data system. So we would love to have 100% of your rooms, but it was a Herculean effort to get onto the chart in May. So now we can see meaningful data for St. Helena as a collective, and then individual properties can then compare their own performance based on what the city did overall. So
We don't have a lot of time,
Baby
but
steps.
I want to get your sense of what are the prospects of heritage tourism? Is that a conversation that's going on? Is that something that's
absolutely.
moving forward? Just a few minutes of maybe discussion on that.
Yeah. We are very happy to be partnering with the Heritage Network here in Napa Valley. That's being spearheaded by former Supervisor Diane Dillon and Shannon Murray Coletto. And they have brought together many of the historical and heritage organizations all throughout the valley, from Sharpstein Museum, St. Helena Historical Society, Robert Louis Stevenson Museum, the Genealogical Society in downtown Napa, etc. So there are all these great organizations that are working together to really create an umbrella over heritage and history. We have been partnering with them for the last several months, and we just launched a landing page on the Visit Napa Valley website actually last week that focuses on heritage and history and tells the story of our heritage wineries, of our hospitality community that actually had more hotels in the mid-1800s than we have today here in the valley, and much of that tourism was driven by wellness experiences. So Napa Valley was actually a wellness destination before it was a wine destination. All that to say, my team is super excited to be helping to sort of consolidate some of that content and get it ready to share with visitors. And so I will happily send, I didn't have time to include in this presentation, I'll happily send you a link to that landing page where you can start to see where we are trying to help build awareness for all the great work that the Heritage Network is doing, and to give, we know that visitors who seek heritage tourism do stay longer and spend more money in a destination. And so there's a real economic reason to do this as well. But I'll share that out after.
Thank you. Thank you for giving that update. You saved me the time of giving my own update. We had a presentation by Supervisor Diane Dillon at the NICLOG meeting, and she talked a lot about this. Very exciting. That's why I asked the question.
Thank you.
As a lawyer brain to me, I asked the question. I already know what the answer is going to be. But so, yeah, that I don't have to report out on that. An excellent presentation by Diane. And we talked a lot about this. And she gave a sort of a visual tour of all the different locations and the connection and the network. So, Mr. Camello.
Just a point of information, Mr. Mayor, a couple things. One is we have actually 25 authorized short-term rentals. We right now have only 21 that are actually operating. We're working through to increase that number, but just to clarify that. And also, I'm just curious if, Lindsay, if you know which slide it was, I just wanted to find out or share with the council, what is the total amount of money you spend on marketing? Because it was, when you saw those pictures, what was spent on, you could do print ads, video, social media, it wasn't clear to me, but perhaps that might help the council.
On the layer specific for the towns or our budget overall? So our budget overall is in the TID revenue that comes from those overnight guests is $8 million. And that is a combination of digital ads, and it helps us run a website and social media and pay paid advertising, which is very expensive. But in this day and age, you can be very targeted with that advertising in who you are trying to speak to, and it's very efficient, but it's very expensive. So the marketing, the program budget is a little north of $8 million a year for this effort. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, and I should then curious to see how much of that is spent on, I care about St. Helena.
Yes.
So how much of that is spent on bringing people to St. Helena? I imagine most of that is spent on just bringing people to Napa.
It is, yes. And, so I think I will say, for our partners in hospitality, without fail, the number one or number two referrer to their website is Visit Napa Valley. And that's the whole point of this is to have people come in through us, and we don't sell anything directly other than T-shirts and a welcome center. But the point is to try to get these visitors to come here and book a hotel, in St. Helena, in Calistoga, in the city of Napa, et cetera. So we are, laser beam focused on that piece of the puzzle and making sure that, that conversion is happening. You're going to hear more about the specific program for St. Helena, but, of the, $8 million program, around $4.5 million of that goes to the marketing effort, which includes, all pieces of our marketing puzzle. And of the paid media is around $2.2 million just on the paid advertising layer, and we spent $500,000 of that over the last 2 years on that town layer, which you saw, which specifically drives people to St. Helena. But the work that we are supposed to do is to, with our 75%, is to talk about the valley, inspire people to come to Napa Valley, educate them on the towns, and then we hand them off to the local TIDs in each of the towns to talk about Calistoga, St. Helena, Yountville, City of Napa, or American Canyon. So we include, I have a lot of handouts of that I'll give you as leave behinds, but we put maps on every single piece of collateral that we have. We want to show people that there are 5 towns in the valley, that they should explore all of them. But at the same time, the local St. Helena specific effort is to be managed with those 25% of funds that stay here. But we're also featuring Harvest Inn and Alila and, now the Historical Society and the work that we're doing to tell about the destination. We're also, from a marketing strategy standpoint, we are trying to expose people to things in addition to wine that they can do here. We're always going to be a wine destination. We're always a luxury destination, but in the current, economy surrounding the wine industry, it's important that we show additional things besides wine, and whether that be wellness or outdoor activities. We promote the Napa Valley Vine Trail all the time and everything we do. It's on almost every page of our visitor magazine, which I'm going to leave a copy of here for you. But we are talking about those assets in Napa Valley, like the Vine Trail, like the beautiful historic downtown in St. Helena, like the wellness experiences that Calistoga has. That's part of the product that we're mentioning day in and day out with this whole program.
All right, thank you. Moving right along. Left 2 minutes for Amy and Rick. No, we asked a few questions. Thank you.
And is it just the green button? Okay, perfect.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm Amy Carrabba Salazar. I'm the CEO and president of the St. Helena Chamber of Commerce. First and foremost, what I want to say is it's just super important that we all understand how important the different entities are between Visit Napa Valley and then the local chamber we're basically Visit St. Helena. Because Lindsay's really hitting everything on that high level, and then we're targeting specifically our town. So we point it at you. Oh. Oh, this one? Okay, great. Perfect. So yes, we run a chamber of commerce. I'm the CEO and president of the chamber. When I started, we had about 70 members, and I'm pointing this out because we're at 284 to date. And this is really important because the chamber members pay for a large portion of our destination marketing contributions. We contribute just under $600,000 total. We get $125,000 from the local TID, and then the rest is funded by the chamber. So yes, we operate a welcome center. We do a lot of bookings out of that. We have an ambassador program. We do ribbon cuttings, mixers, the whole shebang. But our destination marketing program is what's really, I would say, very robust. We do a video shoot every year, and I'm going to go through that. But really, it's about how we're spending and how we're targeting this town to make sure that our hotels are filled and that we're busy and that we have good, strong occupancy numbers. So what do? We work with the Shipyard. It's the same destination marketing firm that Visit Napa Valley works with, and we do very strategic advertising specifically for St. Helena. This year, we partnered with Adara, Travel and Leisure, the Trade Desk. We also did some cross-promotion with Visit Napa Valley because we feel that that's really important. And our goals for this advertising campaign specifically, this one's just under 6 months, is just under about 17 million impressions. I'll get to that. So we produce ads specifically for St. Helena that are targeting heads and beds. We partner with Visit California and Visit Napa Valley. We do all the videography work for that every single year. We're shooting photography assets, and this is my team of 4 full-time employees. We just became 4 full-time employees today. And we're a small but very mighty team. I think we do a great job for the amount of money that we have, and these ads are really important because you have to have an ad specifically talking about your town, but you also have to have ads talking about the valley. And this is why our ads are really important, because once those valley ads get served and then our ads retarget, we actually get people here. Every destination has to have some form of advertising. There's not a destination out there in the United States or in the world that's not doing strategic destination marketing advertising. These are just some examples. We've got quite a bit of different ads. These are video ads, there's awareness layers. I won't get into the nitty gritty. I send you guys these reports quarterly, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But the point is that the ads go out, they target guests, and then guests come, and then they spend money, right? They're here in hotels, they're shopping Main Street, they're going to wineries, and they're spending. Our ads right now, they launched in October, our most recent ad campaign, and they're exceeding. We're thrilled about it. They're doing really great. We worked closely with the TID board this year on constructing a very strategic advertising campaign, working with Travel and Leisure, and we've been watching the advertising campaigns closely. Our occupancy numbers, as Lindsay showed you, have been very good. We wrapped a former campaign last year in September, and that particular campaign was with Expedia, Visit California, and that one we can actually track heads to beds. We partnered with TripAdvisor as well, and you can see, we're getting over 10 million impressions. We're tracking revenue. I can see how many rooms are booked at every single hotel per month, who's doing great, what ads are better performing. I can look at the revenue that's been generated. This right here was not even a 6-month campaign. This one was 3 months, and it generated just under $300,000 in revenue. We run sthelena.com. That's the destination marketing website for the city. There's video production on there. Just operating the website is a pretty robust concept because we have inspiration guides, there's blogs on there, partners are on there, hotels have special feature options, there's video content constantly being produced, rotating out. We're averaging about 112,000 sessions it's just under 3 months. And overall, those sessions are really driven from our advertising campaigns. And as Lindsay said, we're also seeing a lot of traffic from Visit Napa Valley, which is why Visit Napa Valley is equally as important. Then we also curate content for you. If there's something that we're working with your department about, for example, the 150th celebration, the chamber curated a video. I know I sent that to you. It's up on the website. All of the events that are happening for the 150th celebration are there. We've got ads that are running. We've got different content rolling out on all of our social media channels to promote this. It could be the wine barrel tree during the holidays, anything big, summer concert series, we're promoting it to drive traffic to the destination. We also produce maps. That's something that's been really new. So we did an art map. We've got a brand new map for the city of St. Helena. It's actually not the one that's listed there. That's been redone, but that'll be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. And again, this is all done in-house by our in-house design team at the chamber. The video shoot happens once a year. I think we're the only local city that actually does a dedicated video shoot every single year. We do this so that we have fresh assets. My team does a great job. We hire this phenomenal videographer that we work with every year. I have an in-house photographer who's shooting the assets, and then we use those assets in all of our digital advertising campaigns. We do quite a bit of other projects. As you guys know, we produce the wine barrel tree, sidewalk sale, ribbon cuttings. We do a lot of business support workshops like AI. We just did an AI workshop. We do mixers. We produce insider reports for all of our local members. We also do destination marketing newsletters that target visitation. Influencer visits, I'm going to get to that in a second. We produce a holiday gift guide. We track the foot traffic here in town so that we know where we're at with visitation. Overall, we're just keeping a keen eye on everything. If we've got something big that we know is a traffic driver, like the holidays, we run ads. That's what we're doing. We're running strategic ads to increase visitation. This was an example of an ad that ran for 4 weeks. We had just under 300,000 impressions. We produce wine passports. There's 2 a year. We do this gift guide to promote shopping in St. Helena, to really touch on the downtown historical part of our historical shopping district. The gift guide itself was viewed just under 500,000. And we do that to support the local businesses so that they also get a little piece of the marketing pie. The wine passports we do during the off season. This is very strategic. Our out-of-state sales for our wine passport are at 75%. So it's driven by out-of-state visitors that are coming and staying. They're buying the passport. They're basically exploring St. Helena. We do too, and it's a lot of work, but we love doing it. We also produce a lot of advertising for the passport. We do different strategic partnerships with influencers where they're coming and focusing on the passport. And these are just some examples of some of the views that we get online with our social media channels. We average just under 30 influencer partnerships per year. That's a lot of work. If you know what it's like to work with an influencer, it's a lot. Lindsay will share. They're very high maintenance. They're a lot of fun. They're very valuable, but it's a lot of work. I'll zip through this. I mean, there's a ton of ads. There's a lot of numbers here. I don't want to flood your brain, but everything is tracked. We track our social channels. I just wanted to show you this, a comparison of how we do compared to the other nearby towns. We operate on a lot lower funding level than them, but our team, I think, does a great job. I mean, we are surpassing them on our social channels, respectfully, and it's not a competition. It's all about working collaboratively with them and promoting everybody so that if people are in Yountville, they'll come to St. Helena. If people are if they're in Calistoga, they'll come to St. Helena. But I do track it because I want to make sure that my team is being held accountable for what we're doing. Our net growth on our social media channels, this is our numbers pretty much for the year-over-year growth. I mean, we saw tremendous growth in views, over 500,000 through the year. Every single month I get these reports on every single social media channel that we have, and we're on everything. We're on Pinterest, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, you name it, we're producing all the content in-house and cranking up the channels and the visibility. We do a lot of giveaways. This is how we see tremendous growth on our channels. In fact, I would say it's about 30% of our growth is due to giveaways. We do about 10 a year. And I know I mentioned the influencer visits. I mean, these are just some examples of how many we've done. Year to date, we're at 1.8 million views on TikTok and 1.9 on Reels. So really, really strong numbers. We also do a lot of local television segments. These are some examples. We just did something on, mustard season to make sure people know that they can come visit the area when it might be a slower season. We've done different features on something new in town. Overall, we try to get local news out here for drive market visitation when we can. We also like to give back to the community. This is one of our latest projects. As you know, we did the mural on the Y Down, and then we contributed to 6 new benches in town. This was a really fun project with Simon Bowl at Muse. Just something fun that we just thought we would sprinkle in and do a map and see if that could curate a little bit more of attraction towards the arts for St. Helena. And then last but not least, we do destination marketing email campaigns. I mean, there's quite a bit. They go out every single month to about 26,000 people. We did one in January that was specifically for St. Helena's 150 years. Our hotels have a feature in that every single month. And of course, if there's something big happening like holidays, it gets featured. And then last but not least, the Welcome Center, which the city contributes towards along with Visit Napa Valley. The Welcome Center is on Main Street. It's actually a really important and vital part of the community. We have public restrooms, but really it's all about the guests. The guests are coming in and we're keeping them in St. Helena. We're directing them somewhere to keep spending. We are giving them maps. We are tracking visitation. We work with Visit Napa Valley on GIN metric tracking, which is super important. And another thing that's important is, we book a lot of weddings. We're kind of doing what Visit Napa Valley does, but on such a small scale for a large group. I mean, they own the large group targeting, but we do get a lot of inquiries where we're sending out things so that people are booking large events here if they can. Partner referrals is huge, wine passport distribution, etc. So, and it also sells St. Helena swag, which I think is great because people are wearing it out and about. Other than that, I know Lindsay showed this, so I won't waste your time, but our pedestrian traffic was up 5% year over year for St. Helena, and then occupancy numbers were pretty good. I mean, we were really happy with it when we were looking at other towns. And I'm just excited to finish out the year and go into the next fiscal year. I think it's going to be a good one. And I'm happy to answer any other questions about what we do if you have any about destination marketing. It's a lot of metrics, but I'm here to answer. So let me know, and thank you.
Thank you. Questions at this point? All right, thank you, Amy. Mr. Rick Hoffman, welcome to the City of St. Helena.
Thank you,
City Council.
Mayor and council people and staff. I'm Rick Kaufman with Harvest Inn. Vern was unable to be here tonight. He's sick, so asked me to come say a few words. I think we've seen enough statistics. I won't show any slides. At the end of the day, it's about heads and beds. And I think the purpose of my being here today is to highlight for everyone to understand that the whole engine turns when guests, whether they're local on a staycation or from far away, are sleeping in a hotel room. And that generates both funds that go into the city general fund. I think we saw about $3.9 million a year in, year out. And it generates a couple $100,000 a year through that 25% that comes back to the local TID. And the purpose of the TID, as you've been told already, is to then go get more people to come stay in beds. And that cycle, as it grows, is a great thing for the city because it's generating more funds for you all to spend on what the citizens of St. Helena need. I made a few quick notes. The job of the TID is to promote heads and beds. That's its only goal, is to promote the town and the hotels and lodging opportunities that are here so that people will come here. It's simple math. More nights is more money to the city. The TID uses that $200,000 primarily through a contract with the chamber and trying to figure out the best way to increase visitation. But I do want to mention, and it's maybe fortunate that I'm here, not Vern, but as an owner, we spend our own money. And I think it's important for you all to know, we spend millions of dollars every year promoting St. Helena, because if St. Helena isn't cool to visit, then they're going to go somewhere else. And so when you've seen me here before pounding the St. Helena table, it's because if we're sending people elsewhere, that's bad for you guys as the stewards of the town, because we need the money spent here so the taxes are here to keep the town going. And in that vein, I think what Amy presented is great. What Lindsay presented is great. But there needs to be collaboration. The TID is trying to figure out how to be even more effective with its resources. And I think if there's an opportunity, while I have all of your ears here, for the city and the county and Visit Napa Valley and the local TID and the chamber and the individual hotel owners to have a forum to really study what's the best way to do this. We saw some duplicative slides. There's duplicative effort, and there's a limited amount of resources. So if there is an interest at the city level to somehow help facilitate, if not perhaps Visit Napa Valley, or I'm happy to have our staff try to help facilitate, really leverage the existing infrastructure that we all have. We all want the same outcome, which is more people making St. Helena the great town that it is, and to keep it the great town that it is, so that people enjoy living here and have school and fire and library, and that people have hotels they can come stay in and stores and restaurants that they can shop in. And on that note, I'll stop talking because I can tell you guys are done. But if you have any questions.
Wait a minute. We resent that remark. Are you kidding? We're not done.
I saw the head start to nod.
We weren't snoring.
Not yet. So that's my message.
All
That's what the TID does, and I appreciate the city's support, and I think there's room for growth, and that can happen with the properties we have. It isn't necessarily essential to be adding more. I'm not saying not to do that, but I think there is a lot of dialogue to have about how to make the hotels that are already here, that are already up and running, generate even more revenue, not just for the owners and not just more jobs for the staff who live and work here, but also for the city and its taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Questions? Nope. Doesn't look. Vice Mayor.
So if St. Helena isn't cool, people will go elsewhere. Is St. Helena cool?
St. Helena is super cool. St. Helena is the place to go. It's the center of the valley. It's the heart of the valley, and all the other towns have other things to offer. But St. Helena, historically, as you all know, is by far and away, I mean, the chart proved it. Our rates are higher. Our occupancy is greater. Napa is a wonderful town, but it's a different guest. People who want sidewalks and multi-story buildings is a different experience than if you close your eyes in the middle of any of the states where you see that we're marketing. When those people close their eyes and think about a wine country destination, they're dreaming of St. Helena. They're not dreaming of some of the other wonderful wine destinations in the world. They're dreaming of St. Helena, but we need to make sure that they come here. I would suggest we are competing. Napa Valley is competing with Bordeaux and Burgundy and Willamette, but St. Helena is competing with Yountville and Napa and Calistoga, and we do need to make sure that our resources are all lined up, that our ships are all sailing in the same direction, so that we're making sure that, do I tell my staff they need to buy gas in town and not south of town, because those taxes matter. And we tell people they need to come eat in town and not away. I understand the all ships look tall in a rising sea, but ultimately as stewards, you all hopefully are going to make sure that we're being efficient with our resources and doing everything we can to make sure that the city has the revenues it needs to provide the citizens everything we all want. I thank you.
Thank you. All
But
right.
yes, it's super cool.
Thank you for all the presentations. Excellent job. Thank you. A lot of work being done for the city. All right. Mr. Camillo, looks like we're on to item 9, staff briefing. Do you have any additional staff briefing other than what you reported earlier?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. On to consent calendar. Any items that we need to pull to discuss, colleagues? Vice Mayor Deasy, do you have an item that you'd like to pull?
I would like to pull 10.4, please.
10.4, approval of a resolution eliminating funding for the engineering technician position, reallocating those funds to fund an assistant engineer position, and authorizing recruitment for the assistant engineer position. That's for folks in the audience and at home. Okay, we will pull that. Any other items? I'll look for a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar if there aren't any others.
Make a motion to approve the balance of the consent items.
There's a motion and a second by...
Second the motion. I'll second the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Deasy,
Yes.
Councilmember Summers,
Yes.
Councilmember Spoterato,
Yes.
Councilmember Barrick,
Yes.
and Mayor Dorian.
Yes. All right, on to 10.4, just a brief discussion or presentation, Ms. Camello, on that item, and then we'll have a discussion, and we'll get to any issues, and we'll open it for public comment.
Thank you. And I know, just, sorry. Based on what, he's not feeling well. Based on my exchange with, email exchange with Vice Mayor Deasy, I understand the question is more not about the efficacy of the decision itself, but the process. And so I just want to step back though and mention that, staff looks at our operational needs and efficiencies and effectiveness of our delivery of the services. And the Director of Public Works, our Assistant City Manager, as well as our Admin Services Director and myself, we began having a conversation, I would say in summer of last year, about how best to get more projects in our Public Works Department moved and performed. That initial conversation morphed into a variety of different outcomes. Both of them have come to you, one of them has come to you in closed session. We began this conversation with you late September or early October in closed session. And the goal was, again, to get the right classifications in our structure so that we can deliver better services. That means being able to, the higher level class would be able to do more things and rather than having a separate added new position. I felt at the time, and I still do, that in consultation with the department head as well as the Admin Services Director, the decision and the recommendations we made as staff to council in closed session was a good one. It is intended to make ourselves more effective and efficient, and therefore this is normal operation. We wouldn't necessarily be doing this. This began before really the efficiency study was up and running to a great extent. And so to me, nothing that I've learned since has changed my mind about it. I feel very comfortable that this is the right decision for the city, and therefore I think that's why we are bringing it to the council for decision making.
All right. You answered the question before it was asked, but I think you must have had some offline conversations with Vice Mayor on the matter. Why don't you raise your concerns or issues or comments that you have to make, and then we'll have a discussion. I'll open it for public comment. Vice Mayor Deasy.
Thank you. Well, first I want to say how much I appreciate all the work that Public Works does and how complex it is. I've had the chance to sit on the Water and Wastewater Committee, and it is very complex and amazing work. And I'm also appreciative of always looking to get things best and optimized. So thank you. I guess my perspective is that we are just sitting here so close to being done with the efficiency study. I think we're weeks away, and my suggestion was to postpone the decision until we've had a chance to absorb, see that and absorb it, and just confirm what structures will look like. So that was my perspective.
Let me open the public comment, and I'll bring it back to our council for discussion. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the city council. Other points of view or thoughts here from my colleagues? Seeing none, I will just add that I don't know if we have the luxury of staying static, and waiting for. I understand the point. I'm wondering if we move forward and still can have the consultants working on the efficiency study weigh in on it. My sense is that it's more urgent than we are anticipating, and I don't really think the study will catch up to that urgency, frankly, but it could, and it might be interesting to actually look at implementing it and then seeing how it's actually working. So you look at it as, rather than studying what the status quo is, maybe having, give it a chance to play out over several months and seeing what that is. I don't know the timing of the report. I'm not as optimistic as you are that we'll get a report, but it takes it will take months, frankly, to sort of absorb and respond to the report and implement some of the policies. And I'm feeling a little bit of pressure in terms of the project management and some of the things we have on the plate, that the two are not aligned. But I see your point. It seems like, oh, we've got the study. Why would we just wait? I think it's going to be a little bit more of a delay, and I'm a little bit worried about that. So, but I do think it would be interesting to see if it plays out and we implement it to get a sense of whether we're just way off track. But I think our staff would be able to help with that to see if it's working. I'm in favor of moving forward with it for that reason, but I do see the point that you're making. Others, Mr. Camello, am I off track or?
No, you
Okay.
are 100% right. And also there's a workload issue. The previous incumbent is no longer in that position, and work is piling up. And this is a critical position because the person does assist with several other projects, live projects in the field, including encroachment permits, and what we wanted this position to be handling is some higher level project management type work. So we critically need to go out and recruit and fill the position.
Okay, I see that point, and I do actually see the need to move from a technician to an engineer. Can you remind me, if you start recruiting now, it takes about how long until an offer?
We'll just say roughly 4 months.
So let's just say we're not at a point of not turning back. Is that right? In terms of an offer to someone?
Help me understand the question.
At what point
Well,
are we not at a
we
point?
approve this now. We have not hired someone.
Correct.
If we found,
we haven't started the recruitment yet.
if we found that, you know what, let's hold off. We could do that. We are not. It is not too far in the game.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
How would we, what are your thoughts on evaluating the success of the pivot here on this particular item? It's one of many items. I mean, there's going to be a full-blown efficiency report that can talk about a lot of different things. This won't be folded in. What are the opportunities to evaluate, is it working? Obviously, our staff is going to be able to say, yeah, we're moving more projects along, and the load is being spread out more evenly and more effectively. What are your thoughts on that? It is kind of weird that we're right in the middle of something, but I see, as I stated earlier, sort of an urgency to move this along, with the risk that it may be a flop, but I don't think it will be. Actually, I think it will be a success. But what more do you want to add before we take a vote on that?
I don't need to add anything, but
Well.
just so you know, this is the kind of stuff that those of us who have been in management for a number of years, our Public Works Director and ACM happens to have been working in the public sector and private sector for, 20, 30 years now. He knows how to supervise these kinds of positions. Both Ms. Kellogg and myself have worked in these areas for, in my case, 30 years, having evaluated staff, having looked at efficiency studies ourselves. I can tell you with confidence that if this wasn't going to work out in the future, say a year from now, 6 months from now, we will make changes. Whether it's an individual change, meaning the person incumbent is here or not, versus whether we need a different classification. Having worked with this particular classification now for 2 years, we are convinced that an augmentation in the classification is warranted.
Yeah, and I agree. All right, other comments by my colleagues? Thoughts? Not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right.
I'll second.
Mr. Bradley, there's a motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Barrick. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Dizzy,
Yes.
Councilmember Barrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Spadarato,
Yes.
Mayor Doring.
Yes. All right, thank you for that discussion. Thank you for bringing that item up, Vice Mayor, for a good discussion, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. All right. We're on to a computer not working. Let me get this. All right, we're on to public hearings. If I'm not mistaken, item 11.1. This is a public hearing to report on activities related to the St. Helena Community Wellness and Mental Health Program funded through the Housing and Community Development block grant program, grant agreement, and the closeout of the project. Mr. Camello, are we having somebody appear by?
Yes, so in the
okay.
interest of brevity, I'm just going to say that I'll introduce Finance Manager Beltran to make his presentation.
That'd be fine. Mr. Beltran, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight, I'm presenting the closeout of the St. Helena Community Wellness and Mental Health Program. It's an award that was provided through the California Department of Housing and Community Development, CDBG, block grant program. In order to officially close out the grant award, the city must first conduct a public hearing to solicit any input regarding expenditures and accomplishments of the funding that it received. Back in January 2021, HCD announced a notice of funding availability for the 2021 funding year. In February 2021, City Council authorized the submission of the CDBG application for a non-housing community development public services category to support mental health services. In order to fulfill the requirements of the grant, the city needed to partner with an agency that was, specialized in these services. So in April 2021, the city entered into a subrecipient agreement with Aldea Children and Family Services for the St. Helena Community Wellness and Mental Health Program. And then in October 2022, the city received notification that it was awarded $498,281. Upon grant award, the city, with the partnership of Aldea Children and Family Services, they administered the program and assisted with the development of a mental health services program. The program included outreach, case management, therapy, and prevention activities. Aldea program staff supported families with practical education about trauma, mental health, and they created a safety net to promote early identification and intervention, as well as building resilience through treatment and services. I do want to highlight that through this grant award, Aldea provided 297 treatment services. These included treatment plan development, assessments, individual therapy, family therapy, and individual rehabilitation. The grant funds supported services for a total of 20 clients. And during this period, the city, along with Aldea, we were able to spend $374,281, and approximately $124,000 of the award will be disencumbered and returned to ACD, as the program has now reached the end of its 36-month expenditure cycle. With that concludes my presentation and overview of the program, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Colleagues, any initial questions? Let me open it for public comment. It's a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing and invite public comment. Seeing Deanna, come on. Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. I'll close the public hearing, actually, and we'll bring it back to council. A couple questions that I have, and just in terms of the oversight aspects on the part of the city. So we're leaving some money on the table, $120-something thousand. I'm just kind of curious how, Mr. Beltran, how and when did we know we were not going to be able to use all the funds? Who was sort of, kind of watching that in terms of the reporting coming back from Aldea? It's great that we used the vast majority of it, but I'm just wondering lessons learned in terms of how we're monitoring those. You can't make it work faster, but you can always kind of respond maybe and go, okay, maybe we need to pivot to some other plan to make sure we're not leaving those funds on the table. Thoughts about that, Mr. Beltran, if you know?
So we do, even as part of the CDBG grant requirements, we are required to report activity and also financial activity on a quarterly basis. So we did have an overview, or basically we had a breakdown of where we're expected to be at the end of the award. It was hard to say because it really ramped up. So as we got further into the 36-month cycle, expenditures were higher, more services were being offered. So it really just took a longer time up front to ramp up the program. And I will add that at the beginning, there was some shortage in staff, post-pandemic, and then right after, on both fronts from both the city and Aldea too. So that added to or contributed to the shortfall in the full expenditure of funds.
Okay. What, if any of the staff know or Mr. Beltran knows, what are the consequences, repercussions of not using those funds in terms of future requests? Is there some kind of a slap on the hand? Will we lose opportunities, or is this something that's relatively common? I don't like to leave money on the table, but I understand, and I doubt that there will be anything significant, but I'd like to know if anyone knows if there's some state regulation that, oh, well, you guys are now on the not so nice list.
And good evening, Mayor and council members. I can
Director.
answer that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are no consequences. Basically, the funds just get released back into the pool for the CDBG program. But the city doesn't get reprimanded in any way as long as we're in compliance with how we spent the funds that we did spend.
All right, fair enough.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments by my colleagues? Right. What, okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you for that. It sounds like you learned some things about kind of the program management that would be helpful that'll probably be helpful for the future. Did we learn anything else about our community and their needs, or was there any kind of reporting back from Aldea on that, or not so much?
So it's a lot of the services that are provided are confidential, and we are, as part of the closeout packet, we will be receiving activity information. So, who was offered the services, who was declined for not meeting the eligibility requirements. So with CDBG, to meet or qualify for the program, you have to be a resident of St. Helena since it was offered or awarded to the city. And then there's income eligibility, so at least 51% of the clients needed to have a gross countable income below 80% of the Napa County's median income. So it's really just understanding our population and then being able to target the community that will essentially be able to qualify for the program. So I think those are lessons learned.
Thank you.
All right, do you need a motion or direction to close out? If anyone knows, do you need an actual motion for action? I didn't see any request for that.
No resolution or no motion required. To direction is perfectly fine.
Okay, do we all give direction to close out the grant? Return the funds? Looks like you have it from us. No other comments. Mr. Camello? Thank you, Mr. Beltran. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We have another public hearing matter. Item 11.2, consideration and proposed approval of a resolution approving the annexation of the property known as APN 009-391-035, located on Spring Street in St. Helena, California, into the St. Helena Municipal Sewer District.
We'll
Mr. Bell, you want to introduce the staff member to introduce this item briefly, because this is, we've seen this before, but this is the public hearing on the direction we gave, correct, Mr.
Correct.
Leach? Okay.
On this one, yes, ACM Leach will make the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. Good evening. This item is really routine. You've seen many of these in the last year, 2, 3 years now. I think we've entertained maybe close to a dozen annexations during my tenure at this point. So we'll go on to the next slide. It's really the second or third step in a process that ends up in a property being annexed into the sewer district, so that they can be afforded the opportunity to connect to the sewer system, pay sewer fees, and all the benefits and privileges of participating in that system. And walk through the steps. It includes filing paperwork with Napa County Board of Equalization. And I think that we can move on to the next slide. The particular parcel in question You can see on the upper middle, there's an arrow that reflects just to the left of the 47. Thank you for that bouncing pointer. It's a parcel on Spring Street. So we'll go on to the next slide. And really what we're seeking is adoption of a resolution. Any questions?
Questions? Council members? Pretty routine. Seen it before. Motion time. Well, actually, we have to open the public hearing. I know Deanna wants to talk about this. Going once. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the staff recommendation for 11.2.
Second.
Mr. Bradley, there's a motion and a second to adopt the staff's recommendation.
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Spoterato.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deasy.
Yes.
Mayor Doring.
Yes. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Leach, for that concise report. Action. All right. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bradley, we are now moving on to old business. Item 12.1, proposed waiver of the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to implement the tri-annual California Building Standards Code adoption and modifying Chapter 15 of the St. Helena Municipal Code to make certain local amendments. I'll note for the record that we received some public comments from Mr. Daniel Hale and Mr. Wayne Leong. Mr. McCann, welcome.
Great. Thank you. I'm Jim McCann, the Acting Community Development Director. Happy to be here this evening. The item before you tonight is a really straightforward one that would normally be on the consent calendar, but given that there's been some interest in the matter, we concluded to bring it forward to you off of the consent calendar to have a discussion if you wish. It is the second reading, the adoption of the ordinance that would bring forward the new California Building Code standards, as well as dozens of amendments to our municipal code regarding the same topics. This was introduced at your public hearing in January 13th. We bring it back to you now for the second reading. There are dozens of amendments that you considered and introduced back in January. We're here simply for that second reading. If you have questions, which you might, about some of the issues, our chief building official is very, very well versed in the matters, as well as our fire marshal, and then, of course, the city attorney can help us out if we get into a bind. We would recommend, though, that you adopt this ordinance. The public hearing's already occurred, so you need not open a public hearing. You can certainly take comments if you wish, and as the mayor said, we have received 2 letters offering some thoughts on the matter.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. Any initial questions before I open the public comment? Mr. Barrett.
I have a question. So some of these items, help me understand what's mandated by the state and we have no discretion on and we have to adopt, and what isn't. Specifically with requiring solar panels and the like, right? Heat pumps, deprecating natural gas. I believe this was talked about in January as well. My memory is failing me. I don't believe we have a lot of discretion there, but enlighten us.
That is correct. Thank you. Philip Henry, Chief Building Official for the city.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah. So as of January 1st, by state law, the 2025 building codes went into effect. That includes the California Energy Code, which has pretty much mandated heat pumps, solar panels. Really, there's no change on the solar panels. The solar panels have been required for any new structure that has been built. I think that went into effect in the 2019 code, so there's not really anything new there other than they've kind of tweaked the amount of kilowatts. So basically what ends up happening is if you build a single family home, you're putting on solar panels. You build multifamily, you're putting on solar panels. Where it becomes a question is if you build a ADU, if through your energy calculations, you can prove that you are using very little energy, that you don't need a solar PV system larger than 1.9 kilowatts. The code says you don't have to put on solar panels. And the reason for that is because of the cost. It's very cost prohibitive by the time you buy the inverter and all the equipment, that a 1.9 or less than 2 kilowatt system is very expensive to basically recover that kind of energy that you would be using in a small ADU. So that's the exception, but it's been in place, so there's really no change for us there. And it is true that while the energy code did not ban gas, there's been some litigation that has prohibited that. What the California Energy Code did was tighten up the metrics. So can you still install gas? Yes, you can. You have to perform your way out of it by additional solar panels. You can put on a energy storage battery, like a Tesla Powerwall or something similar. And then you basically are, you're basically performing your way out of the carbon footprint,
So we don't have any leeway. I think my question's more around what leeway do we have? I'm not a big fan of, an area where we are struggling with affordability to make policy where it inherently becomes less affordable, right?
Well, I would not disagree with.
So if we can't, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And I'm done with my questions.
Yeah, I would not disagree with you or the public comment. It's really the California Building Officials Association, which I regularly keep in touch with because they let us know about new legislation. We've all, as building officials in California, have said that there's two parts of California. One is saying we need to build more affordable housing, and then there's another part of California that keeps on tightening up the codes and making new requirements that kind of erase the affordability. So we've, as building officials, we've thought that they should get together and address that, because it seems like they're kind of two different factions going in California. But yeah, we have no say in the state law. So all we're enforcing is the state building code. We have not done any local amendments for the energy code. So anything we enforce would be the state law.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Badarotto.
Thank you. Is there any, I understand you're saying this is a state thing. Is there any way to fight back on this as far as, again, I mean, square peg, round hole. It doesn't fit everywhere. And this is a situation, especially in our town. Again, it's already very unaffordable. Affordable housing is almost a joke in that people, even you could give them a home here and they still can't afford the cost of living. This is going to make it even more, not just more challenging, but it will prevent people from even wanting to buy here, knowing I'm going to move in, I'm going to have an issue with my gas, and I'll have to jump through loopholes to be able to keep my gas, or I'm going to have to put solar on my roof or something to offset. Is there a way, is there any potential way to fight back on this, or are we just set to have to obey by this?
No, I would encourage people to contact their state legislatures and make their comments known, because that's really where this is coming down, is from the state. If you've been keeping up with the news, that I believe it's by 2030 you will not be able to buy, sell, or install a gas appliance in California, and that's being mandated by the state. So there's nothing as a local jurisdiction we can do. There's been some jurisdictions, in the Bay Area that has done some reach codes and gone to all electric requirements in anticipation of this. But basically, that's the direction that the state is headed, unless something changes at the state level. Yeah, we have no discretion on a local level, unfortunately. So we follow the state rules, and we're mandated that as of January 1st, even though we haven't, as a city, adopted the state code, it by law takes effect January 1st. So we have no choice but to enforce the state code. What we are adopting here along with the state code, which is kind of a formality, is our local amendments. And so the longer we delay on adopting, we can't legally enforce our local amendments. Currently, they expired on December 31st. So I need the approved resolution to send forward to the State Building Standards Commission, and once they approve our local amendments, we are allowed to enforce them.
All right. Vice Mayor Deasy, you have questions?
Thank you. My questions are on section D107.1, the removing 2 access roads requirement for developments over 30 units. Can we talk about why?
Yeah, Alec Vidler can speak to that, and I can add some context too if you'd like, but go ahead, Alec.
Good evening, Mayor and
Welcome.
council members. Thank you. So is there a specific, you mentioned why, is there anything specific about it you were wondering about, or just why we removed that from the amendments?
Yeah, why it's being removed. I mean, it seems to me that fire is getting worse, not better. And so it's a genuine concern. I think if it reads, if it's just with the state, I might be wrong here, but with the state policy, we could have 200 units with a single point of ingress, egress. And so that seems like a lot. I don't understand why we're striking it, so we'd love some color on that.
Sure. So it's only pertaining to the 2 access points, obviously.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history on this amendment. So it's been carried over in our code adoption cycle every 3 years, going back all the way to 2010. And it's one of those situations where we've never really looked at it with a scrutinizing eye because it's just been carried over and carried over and carried over because we've never had any projects big enough for this amendment to actually be looked at closely. But when what was brought to our attention and we looked at this amendment, the way it was worded, it didn't make sense for us at the fire department because of how we interpret the code, that it doesn't specifically negate the exceptions in the California Fire Code. So the practice with our code and our amendments is to specifically say that there's a portion of this section that we are amending, if it does not apply, we specifically say it does not apply. It's a practice you can see in section, I believe, 903, thank you, Phil. He knows the numbers better than I do. We specifically mention in there that there's areas that are being replaced or removed so that there's no question that this is the only thing that applies. But the reason this particular amendment was confusing is because it has no language saying that the exceptions attached to that section in the California Fire Code do not apply or are nullified. So when we saw that, we saw it as confusing. This was back last year, early last year, when it was brought to our attention. And then as the code cycle began, starting in July is when it was produced. The new fire code for 2025 was published in July of 25. That's when we decided, well, we need to make a change to make this less confusing, to remove that completely because the exception, in our eyes, the exception still stood. So the amendment itself didn't really make sense to us, and it was kind of confusing and muddying the waters. So that was the reason behind removing that amendment from our code and just relying on the California Fire Code as we were going to do anyway. So that was the reason why it was removed, for clarification, because as we determined it, it was still, the exceptions in the California Fire Code were still in place, and they were not nullified by the amendment itself. So my submission to Phil for this was back on November 14th when I explained the reason why I wanted to remove that for clarity. And then on December 2nd, 2025, I went before Planning Commission for a project, Spring Grove project for the tentative map. And I explained that to them as well, of the reason why we were falling back to the exception in the California Fire Code.
They accepted that explanation, and then they passed the tentative map. So that was kind of the timeline of why, and the timing of it I see is a little odd. Sorry.
Can you, the exception, can you, I don't know if I follow that part.
Sure. So in the actual California Fire Code, in Amendment D, or excuse me, I can't think of the word now. I apologize. Appendix, thank you. Appendix D 107.1 deals with having two apparatus access routes. Now, the code itself specifically says for multifamily and one-family dwellings, if there's more than 30, you're required to have two access points. There's an exception directly underneath that says, unless all the dwellings are installed with, and I'm paraphrasing, fire sprinklers, according to the California Fire Code standard, then you can have up to 100 of one and two family dwellings. Then that's in 107.1. So that exception is what we were talking about that was not nullified in the language of the amendment itself, and that's where the confusion came in. And then you mentioned 200 earlier. I just want to clarify that D 106 is the one that talks about multifamily dwellings as a standard are allowed to have 100. If they're sprinklered, they're allowed to have 200, up to 200 without a secondary access. So I just want to clarify that. Yeah.
I was just going to add some context to this. So just to let you know, we do not build a structure in California that's non-sprinklered any longer. When that provision came into effect, it basically took effect in January 1st of 2011, so for the 2010 building code cycle. So I tried to research this specific amendment. I only went back to the 2010 code. The truth is, this amendment was probably put in prior to that because it doesn't make sense once the advent of sprinklers came in, because what the state code says and what our local amendment says is that, well, the state code limits you to 40 units that are non-sprinklered for one road. We, as a local jurisdiction, amended that to 30, one road, 30 units or less, no sprinklers. Well, we don't build any structures any longer without sprinklers. As of 2011, the state required every new structure built, with few exceptions, has to have sprinklers. So this code section kind of became obsolete because the state exception allows, if you have fire sprinklers, you can build up to 100. And our local amendment never repealed the exception. In section 903 of the sprinkler codes, I mean, we can clearly see that we have repealed exceptions. That exception was never repealed, so we don't have anybody here that was originally here when that local amendment was put in. I came to the city in 2017, and to be honest with you, I have not changed any local amendments for what was put there by my predecessors until this code cycle. It's in the staff report. I did remove the requirement to have a fire sprinkler system or a fire sprinkler permit issued concurrently with a building permit. And the reason is because I saw so many applicants come in who just wanted a building permit from us, and so they jumped through the hoops, paid $639, got a fire sprinkler company to give them a set of calculations, only to start building the project, and then they bid everything. And so I always end up with 2 fire sprinkler permits, one that stays open and never gets finalized out or closed, and one that is done with the fire sprinkler company that they end up using. And so as a building official, I thought, we're putting in a roadblock and making applicants jump through hoops of costing them money. It's not solving any problems. And so in consultation with the fire department, I asked the fire department, could we delete this local amendment, which was requiring a fire sprinkler permit prior to building permit approval. So that's the local amendment that I changed. Before then, I've always just taken the local amendments and readopted them and never questioned the reason they were put into place. But maybe it's time for us to look at the local amendments and remove the ones that are obsolete.
Thank you. I wanted to add on one more question, and my concern is not with the sprinklers as so much as the ability, right, to get out in a wildfire. So I'm not as concerned about the fire in those buildings, but if there's wildfire around, the ability to leave. And I know we have places in town that are, worse, more than 30 spots, and those scare me too. So I'm wondering if we should. It seems to me we should be getting more safe, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity can we keep what we have, but clean up the language so that it is not confusing.
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm not sure of the legality at this point. As you may be aware, that the state passed a law, AB 130, last year in an effort to help the LA fire victims of January 2025 to rebuild. And so the state prohibits local amendments for residential construction. So there's very few exceptions. I could take forward a local amendment and see if the Building Standards Commission would approve it. But I can tell you they're going to scrutinize probably more so than they have before because, again, the state was trying to help. AB 130 originally started out by trying to freeze the current building code, which would have been the 2022 code. And then it, through the process, morphed into we're going to adopt the 2025 building standards and then just prohibit the local jurisdictions from making the state code more stringent for residential. For commercial, you can make amendments, but not for residential. The state is trying to help build more housing. That's in place till 2031, so we could come back in 2031 without any trouble, or you could try to see.
Yeah, I guess I'm just confused because we already had this, and it's not that I don't want to build housing, it's that I'm concerned about these exit points and more spots where people can get stuck. So can we keep what we have?
So I think the point that that they were making is that if we keep what we have, the way that staff has always read this is that the exception still exists, right? So they have always, our staff has interpreted it as if you have this in place, there's still that exception, right, for the sprinklered units. And they don't permit units that aren't sprinklered. So this is really unnecessary because the exception would always apply. Does that make sense? And it's difficult, like if we were to go back in and say, oh, but actually we meant that this was deleting the exception, right? Contrary to the way our staff has been interpreting it. That's what Mr. Henry is saying would be a challenge if we took that to the State Building Standards Commission or whatever they're called. And you also have to now, during this 5-year period, you also have to send your changes to HCD, and that's who looks at whether or not there's been a change that adds restrictions for housing. Does that make sense?
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
What is the pathway under our current regime, our current law, to have the city of St. Helena say, you need 2 fire apparatus roads? We're not going to allow any kind of an exception for sprinklers. I agree with the Vice Mayor that they're separate issues in a way. You know, you have
right.
Internal fires, external fires. Why would we not want to explore that now if we have the opportunity? Probably couldn't do it on a second reading. We may have to come back, but tell me what are the constraints on a pathway to at least have a discussion about that policy?
So the constraints for that are the new requirements that were put in law by AB 130 that Mr. Henry referenced. Mm-hmm. And that is that from October 1, 2025 to June 1, 2031, it says that a city or county shall not make change or modification to its building code standards, basically, that is applicable to residential units unless of one of the following conditions is met. And then the one that he is talking about is the one that will are substantially equivalent to changes or modifications that were previously filed by the governing body. So ones that were already in effect prior to, right? So if we were to now say we're requiring two no matter what, then that affects residential standards, and I don't think they would approve that right now. I think the argument that some may make is that, well, our original amendments included the deletion of the exception, right? But that's just not the way our staff has interpreted that law, so that kind of strains the credibility of that.
I guess the point I'm making is, well, let me add, this is a little esoteric.
Sure.
Is the exception currently the law in the city of St. Helena, that we're actually changing it or would be changing it? I'm a little confused. I thought we were in sort of a limbo area right now where there really isn't any exceptions because 2022 is long gone. That's gone. Now we're into 2025, the triennial report. We want to make sure that we don't do anything that's less restrictive than the state code. I would see this as more restrictive than at least the status quo. I'm a little confused what we would be changing. We would be adding, we would just be going back to the status quo. Is that considered a change, or
so
I'm confused there?
If we went back to the if we went back to the status quo, then
the state code without requiring two access roads, that would be my view of what the status quo is at some point.
Sure, okay. Right.
All right.
Prior to the beginning of 2026, that was the status quo.
Right.
Except that in that instance, there was the exception for sprinklering, right? And so the point that Mr. Henry made is that because that exception was in place and we always require sprinkling for those units, I wasn't aware of that, but that's what he's indicated, is that we wouldn't approve the units without sprinklering, that the exception kind of swallows the rule, right? So the two access point rule.
Seems to defy common sense.
Well, I mean, I think what the point that he was making is that at some point we changed our approach so that we were requiring sprinklering for all units, and our changes to our local amendments just didn't keep up with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I understand the angst that the Vice Mayor feels, because I feel the same angst.
Sure.
You know, we're here in the Napa Valley, and we have lived through fires, and you want to make it more safe when you have the opportunity, build redundancy, sprinklers, and access roads. And I think that just, we have to try to find a pathway to get there. And you're saying there's no pathway. Why did the legislature say you couldn't change any? It seems self-defeating, frankly. We're actually going back to accommodate the legislature, saying, hey, we're going to stick with the state code here. We're not going to tinker around with it because we know what we're doing. We're the state, and we're the city of St. Helena saying, yeah, you're right. Great. Good job. We're not going to have an exception here. You would think that would be something that's a winnable argument with the state board, but I may be wrong.
Well, but they do have the exception. Yeah. That is in their code.
Right.
And I think this is another example of, you can weigh the different policy arguments behind it, right? But I think part of it is that they were, when they came up with this, it was as part of AB 130, which was a law to help facilitate housing development. And I think they see in some instances the local amendments can make it more difficult to build housing. Okay. And so that was their thought.
All right, got it.
Can I ask one last question?
Other thoughts, yeah.
Is there a penalty for submitting it, and maybe it's accepted, maybe it's declined?
There is not a penalty. It's just if it is not successful, it's just rejected. I have another community that's what happened. They made changes, and then I think they made changes, and they said it was like 2 days too late, or they didn't submit it on time, and they rejected it.
Could we not be two days too, or you're saying 2 days too late in terms of,
Sure.
of whenever?
So this was an example where they came up with new requirements that were not in their prior code, and they tried to get them in before October 1st. That's not what we would be doing here, unless we were to say, I mean, we could add something now, but the deadline was October 1st of 2025 if we were to make an actual change that wasn't in our prior code.
And public safety has no impact on, we've had fire almost around what percent, I'm not sure, around what percent of our city?
Right. So, yeah. So I can, I can tell you what the exceptions are. There is the one that I mentioned about things that were already in your code. There is an exception if the commission, so not the council, but the Building Standards Commission deems the changes as necessary as emergency standards to protect health and safety. And then there's exceptions for home hardening. And then, yeah, there's a handful of others that wouldn't be applicable here. So, yeah, I mean, and it's like he said, part of this was coming out of the Palisades fire. I think down in that area, Malibu, the Palisades, everything. It's a unique geological kind of area of the state. I'm sure there's a lot of local amendments, and so they wanted to make sure that they got things moving forward as fast as possible. So.
How long does it take when you submit the resolution to hear back from the state commission?
It depends on when you turn it in. If you submit, probably now we're getting past what all the other cities have submitted. Most of them were submitting at the end of the year or first part of this year.
Right.
So usually about a month to a month and a half we hear back. I did speak to one of the local building officials in the next county over, and he told me he tried to adopt some of the appendixes in the state code, and the Building Standards Commission rejected it. So he had to start over and go back to council and redo the resolution. And the appendixes, we've adopted some, but we've already had them previously adopted, so we're adopting the same ones. I use them because they're very explanatory. They kind of give a little bit more information, like on patio covers, for example. You can go to Appendix H, and it has drawings and figures that we can refer to. But the state is apparently being very strict and wanting to make sure that there's no roadblocks for Altadena and Palisades rebuilding.
Is it a one bite at the apple? Could you go in later and say, okay, I mean, I like that the second exception that you read about public safety, emergency, some kind of, I don't know if that applies, but it's closer to our situation. Is it possible to go, okay, we're going to pass a resolution tonight adopting this triennial code with the changes, and go back later, say, state, look, we really have this exception. Could we make the case later? Is that a thing to do?
So if we were to make changes, we would have to start over, take first reading back, do that, and go through the process. Could we then submit it to them?
No, I'm talking about later on, go ahead and adopt the staff recommendation now, but then later, or simultaneously start working on an exception that start working on language that allows us to say, no, we require to access roads. Sometime in the future, I mean, can you go to the state at any time? Or are you limited to this period when you're adopting the triennial code? That's my question. Maybe I should ask that before.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Actually,
I believe you can, and that would be my recommendation, is that we adopt so we have all our other local amendments in process. And if we wanted to bring something forward, we could go to the state standards building commission with more of a narrowed, question. Can we add this to the fire code?
Mm-hmm. Or even language that allowed the fire chief to have the discretion to either implement that exception or not, depending on the facts of the situation, rather than just a one-size-fits-all. We got sprinklers, therefore you don't need the road. Yeah, I don't know.
If I can just add,
Mr. McCann.
That would be a very unusual thing to do, to adopt your codes and then halfway through that cycle come back and revisit them.
Well, we're in unusual times, Mr. McCann.
We certainly are. And we would like to get a little more normal, having adopted building codes that are consistent with actually the application that we've had over the years. This fire section has brought some confusion. We're trying to make it more clear. There really isn't a change with respect to the number of access points, or the ability to have that exception. That's the code that has been in place for many years. There's some confusion around that. We're trying to make it much more clear. I would urge you to move forward and to conclude this action so we can adopt the code, so we can bring our local amendments, which are very important, forward. And then with respect to revisiting, perhaps we can have our building official commence some conversation with the folks at the board to find out sort of what their temperature might be. Is it realistic to do this? We know already that there is the new law that says you can't adopt these things, and so we're kind of banging our head against the wall. And
but there are exceptions under that.
There are.
Right.
There are. And so I think we can explore those with our city attorney, and maybe Phil can do that with his colleagues, and we can have some conversations with the folks at the state to see, is this realistic? Is there an opportunity to do that? So before we take an aggressive approach, I think maybe we can take an initial approach. But for tonight, I would just ask you to move this forward.
Can I make one more comment?
You have the floor.
Thank you. Could we move forward with the new building codes, leaving 107.1 as is for now, and then go to the state? I know it's not perfect, but it's also weirder to go back and forth.
So I would say no. You've introduced an ordinance, and you can't amend it in that fashion tonight. We could reintroduce it, which I would recommend against. With respect to this section, this is the conversation that Phil and others could have to just determine what level of success or interest might be at the state to consider our future request.
Thank you. My last comment is it just seems like a big deal. And if we, 2 weeks or whatever it is, or a month or 2 months, doesn't seem like as big a deal to get right something that is potentially important from a public safety standpoint.
Understand.
Phil, could you talk a little bit about some aspects of one of the letters that talked about the trailers and the RVs, and what's the gist there? What's the lowdown on why we're changing that aspect? That's come up a couple of times in my law practice in other areas, so it's an evolving target. What are we trying to resolve?
So, as far as I know, St. Helena's not trying to install any additional trailer parks. What happened, what brought this about was, as you may know, we did a zoning code update in, a couple of years ago. And in our previous zoning code, we had a provision that if somebody was remodeling or building a house, they could park an RV trailer and stay in it while they're remodeling their house, or, for security purposes. Some of the contractors have stayed in an RV while the house is being built. Well, that provision went away in the new zoning code. It's no longer there. And we've had a few contractors ask, can we put a trailer? We had no code section to either prohibit it or allow it. There was no provisions. So what I did is I took the language from the old code out of chapter 17 that was prior to the new code adoption, and I put it into our local amendments for the building code. That's all I've done is taken so that we have a mechanism to allow someone to stay in a trailer, which has historically been done, and then it still allows me to have parameters to tell somebody that is living in an RV next to a house, for example, and they're not doing remodeling. I would take code enforcement action and tell them that it would be appropriate for them to move that to a trailer park. But we do have specific exceptions, and we have a framework with this new language to our local amendments with the building code, but it's language that governs it for a certain period, and they have to get permission from us and a permit from the building department. So.
All right. Is there any public comment on the matter? Close public comment, bring it back for deliberation. Why the smile, Mr. Mello? All right. Mr. Barrick, what do you think?
Vice Mayor might want to make a motion or
All right. Any further comments or deliberations?
I'll try it.
Yep.
I don't know what the motion is. I'm trying to make.
Well, you're going to probably just adopt a staff recommendation, but you may have different ideas. Mr. Mello, what is so amusing?
My apologies, Mr. Mayor. My apologies.
I think the appropriate motion is just to adopt the ordinance, waive second reading. Anything else?
That's a recommendation.
It would be,
further
yeah,
comments?
it would be to waive second reading and adopt the ordinance.
I'll try it. I hate to be always the pain in the butt, but I do think the fire thing, the fire access is a big deal, and so I don't even know if this is a motion, but I would make a motion to come back with. I don't know if it's the right it's probably not the right motion. I would like to see us put through the fire access needing maximum 30 units for 1 point of ingress egress.
If I might, not to be argumentative, but you're right. You're aware the state law doesn't permit us to do that, as the city attorney explained.
I didn't hear that.
We cannot adopt
Okay.
impediments to housing. In a nutshell, is what the new legislation, which took effect last year, indicates.
But there was an exception with respect to public safety.
Well, okay, so if you were to just reinsert the language that we already had in our code, essentially, right, like make the exact same thing, I do think you could do that, but I don't think that would make a difference because there would still be the exception for sprinklering, right? So I think that would be a change that would have it wouldn't achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve, right?
I was trying to say to change the language to clean it up so that there isn't that sprinkler exception, but that with 30 or more.
Right. So you could do that, but I do think Mr. McCann is right. If we do that, we will send it in and it will just get rejected. So just to be clear, you can do it, but that's what I think the result will be.
But there's not a big penalty. Or there is. Am I missing something?
The only penalty is that our other local amendments will not be in effect during that period of time. So that I think that's what staff wants is they want to get the other ones in place so that they have something that they can rely on for our building community.
All right, well, I'll make I don't think there was a second, but I'll make a motion to waive the second reading, adopt the ordinance to implement the triennial California Building Standards Code adoption and modifying Chapter 15 of the St. Helena Municipal Code to make certain local amendments, and directs staff to look into the potential for relying on one of the exceptions to allowing us to make changes under AB 130, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll second.
All right. More, there's a motion and a second, more comment, more deliberation, more? Yes, sure.
So with that motion, will that be accepted, do you think?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're maintaining the status quo, but we're keeping our option open.
Right, you're just
It might be hopeless, but at least we're trying.
us we're going to do what we were planning on doing, but we're going to see what other options we have on kind of a go-forward basis.
All right. Mr. Bradley, roll call, please.
Mayor Doring,
Yes.
Councilmember Barrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatarato,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dizzy.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Very good
Thank you.
conversation.
All right, thank you. All right. We have a few minutes still. Caught up, Mr. Miller, we've caught up. There was a lot of visitor and tourism conversations that put us off track, but it was good information. All right. Mr. Bradley, where am I? We're on to 14? All right. Anyone dying to give a council report? I have a couple brief reports. Ms.
I have a
Barrett?
report, and it's a good for us and residents. There was some talk a few weeks ago that the Clover Flats landfill.
That's it?
It was not going to close. I contacted Gary Larson and others on the committee, and that is not the case. They are still planning to close that and have filed all the requisite paperwork. So if we're hearing from constituents, that's fake news.
Other reports, I'll report out from, I had a busy week last week. Flood control, I attended on last Tuesday. The Napa County Flood Control and Water Conservation District Board awarded a $32.8 million contract to Sassoon City-based Shimmick Construction to build flood walls north of the Oxbow Bypass in Napa. The project represents the next major phase of long-term Napa River, Napa Creek Flood Protection Project, aiming to secure areas north of the Oxbow Bypass that have remained vulnerable to flooding. The project involves construction on the western shore of the Napa River, spanning approximately 2,377 feet between the River Terrace Inn and the Lincoln Avenue Bridge, and another 4,000 and some feet north of the bridge ending near the Napa Elks Lodge. Work is expected to begin in late March, early April of this year. The project is slated for completion by 2028. The construction will include concrete and sheet pile flood walls, metal stop, log swing, gate closures, recreational trails, and operation maintenance roads. It was just fascinating that in a matter of minutes, we approved a $32.8 million contract. Not a lot of discussion, but just to remind folks who are newer to the Napa Valley, these discussions and this work has been going on since 1998, and we're finally making headway there. So that is great for Napa and the rest of the Napa Valley. I also attended on last Wednesday the Napa Valley Transportation Authority, which released the county-wide active transportation plan for public review. This concluded a year and a half of technical analysis and community engagement to improve safety and connectivity for people walking, biking, and rolling throughout Napa County. Nearly 2,000 residents and stakeholders provided input into the plan. It will serve as a long-term blueprint for infrastructure and policy investments up and down the valley. The plan identifies over 400 miles of new or enhanced bikeways to close gaps, improve comfort, and expand travel options, while also prioritizing sidewalk gap closures. Our community, this community, is invited to review the plan and make comments until March 18th. The way these plans are built and delivered is each jurisdiction, the city of St. Helena will have its own chapter. It's interesting reading, and it's important that folks weigh in. The Bicycle Coalition has already weighed in, has some criticism that Vice Mayor and I heard at the NBTA. Then the last thing was on Thursday, I guess it was last Thursday, I went to the NICLOG meeting, and as I said, Diane Dillon presented an overview of the Napa Valley's sort of historical sites, but tying in this growing movement to form a heritage network and take advantage of the potential for heritage tourism in Napa County. Lindsay Gallagher summarized it pretty efficiently, and that is my report. One other thing on NBTA, I was involved in the interview process for 2 consultant finalists out of 12 to do a strategic plan. More to come on that matter. All right. Now, Mr. Camillo, I always say find joy, but you were finding joy throughout the meeting, and what is the magic over there? You're over there giggling, finding joy, trying to get through a meeting. What say you, Mr. Camillo? Don't say anything.
Happy to disclose later, Mr. Mayor.
All right. I don't know if I have a pizza olive in my teeth or who knows. You know, my wife doesn't even tell me, hey, you got an olive in your teeth. You know, it's like, okay. So if it's that, I'm going to be mad, but all right. All right. Anything else for the good of the order, Mr. Bradley? Thank you all for really good discussions tonight. Difficult challenges as always in the city, but all have a good night. Be safe. Find joy.